Hello, everyone, and welcome to the episode of the Caffeinated Librarians, MPL's pop culture podcast. We're continuing our discussion of Buffy with season 5, and we're discussing episode 5, No Place Like Home, episode 16, The Body, and episode 22, The Gift.
I think it's just Body.
No, it's The Body.
I don't know about that.
Okay, well, whatever. We'll agree to disagree. As always, there will be spoilers.
Pulling it up.
So, Lou, you mentioned prior to that you wanted to discuss something before I get into the lead up to the season.
No, you're right. Never mind. Fuck. I hate when
That was never in question.
I hate when she's right.
I know.
Did you really have to question her though? Because go ahead and.
So, when we started this Buffy the Vampire Slayer journey, one of the things that you had mentioned was that you were trying to find episodes that epitomized the theme for that particular season. Mm-hmm. And because I like to give you a hard time, it's enjoyable for me.
I'm sure. Yeah.
At least he admits to it.
Yeah.
Your reactions while you try to temper them are usually very enjoyable to me, no matter what. You hit the nail on the head.
Thank you.
Like, I mean, I remember all these episodes. I remember, like, we talked about it a few weeks ago about how we both liked. I think for me it was season 2 first, and then season 5 was the next one. Mm-hmm. I don't remember where yours was, but basically, like, season 4 I think was both of least one of our least favorites.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then this season is just like so much better than season 4 was, and the 3 episodes are very enjoyable, but very exceptional. And I would say, and we'll get to the body, but that episode, I put that right up there. If you want to consider Becoming Part 1 and Part 2, for me that's the best single episode of Buffy. The Body's second. Like that. I mean, that was incredible. So, yeah. As much as I want to give you, I can't. Like, you hit the nail on the head.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it was difficult for me to pick episodes because, for the most part, especially with season 5, it is one of my favorite seasons. I think it's the most cohesive season of Buffy. I like the villain. Glorificus is a fun time.
I love her. Yeah.
And I was talking to Katie prior to recording that this is the season where Buffy has to finally enter like the adult world and deal with some pretty traumatic things. So with episode 5, which is going to be our opener episode, No Place Like Home, this is the episode where we learn that Buffy's mother, Joyce, is not doing well, that there is something very wrong, but they don't know what it is. So many of us, whether it's a parent, whether it's a family member, friend, who are dealing with some kind of illness where you have that uncertainty, okay, well, how serious is it? What's going on? How come the doctors don't seem to know what is causing my loved one or my friend to be in pain and discomfort? It's very raw and very real, and you feel Buffy and Dawn's anxiety over this.
I think it's worse though too when you're a child and you don't understand it, or it's not that explained to you, because I can already speak. I know we're trying to talk about No Place from Home, but The Body.
Well, the two are related.
Okay. So I will just say this. The Body hit me in such a way because it talks about grief. It talks about how the world just keeps going even though you're grieving. I lost my grandfather when I was 9, and he had a terminal illness. And I was young. I was 9 years old. I wasn't the age that Buffy is supposed to be when she loses her mother. But I cried for 4 days straight. That's how bad my grief was. And just looking at how the world kept going when I was going through it was very, very difficult for me.
Yeah.
So, although I may not, I'm just going to come out and say this, I may not enjoy Buffy as much as you guys, only because I think that wasn't really my scene when I was growing up watching Buffy, and it kind of still isn't. The episode, The Body, like, really, like, hit me harder than I expected it to. So,
Yeah.
we'll go back to
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, since we're already talking about it, I mean, I think that episode, there's just something they do it so well.
yeah.
They show so well how different people deal with grief. I like that there was no in a show that is supernatural in essence. There was no supernatural elements.
Yeah.
It just dealt with real people dealing with real things. Even just the sound editing of it, like it was just a quieter episode than all the other episodes.
Yeah.
And this is not a good thing. I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I think the nature of the show is just how it is. In a show, and it's not just Buffy, it's all shows that are like this. But in a show like Buffy that kind of trivializes death,
Oh, yeah.
to have a death of not even one of the main characters
Right.
impact you as much as it does because of how it impacts all the main characters
Yeah.
is really kind of remarkable. It really is an exceptional 45 minutes of television.
And I was talking to Simona earlier before we started recording that the actress who plays Joyce knew that her character was going to be killed off, but no one else knew about it. And knowing that now, because Sarah Michelle Gellar's reaction to her mother's death was so real. Like, I didn't feel like she was acting it.
It was visceral.
It was very visceral, that it made perfect sense that no one else knew this was going to happen except for the actress who was playing Joyce, because you got that reaction. You got that real emotion from those characters.
Yeah, that actress found out, Josh Whedon told her in season 3 that her character would be killed off in season 5. I believe the other actors may have learned at the time the season came out. I don't know how far in advance they knew that the character of Joyce would be killed. But like Lou, you mentioned about mundane in a world of the supernatural and just bringing it back to No Place Like Home, that's very much what Buffy is grappling with. Because this is also where you learn Dawn Summers, who's a character who's introduced in season 5, about her origins. So this is episode 5. So for 4 episodes prior, fans were left wondering, did I miss something? What is going on? When did Buffy get a sister? And this is where you learn her origins.
I agree with that, because it was like, who are you?
Yeah.
And I don't know that I appreciated like getting almost like info dumped during this episode about Dawn, because I feel like, especially with season 4, I mean, there was nothing really going on in season 4 that the writers couldn't have like started her character development then?
To be fair, in the previous episodes, there are hints that something is not off with her, that she's more than what she seems. So, like the way other people react to her.
Yeah.
And
I don't know.
I'm saying the wrong thing. Hold on, wait a minute. I'm saying the wrong thing. I am correct. I'm sorry. Because it's been a while since I watched it. In previous episodes, there are hints that she's more than what she seems. In this episode, obviously, Buffy does not share, because Buffy is dealing with her mom's illness. And at one point, she's fighting this vamp, and this security guard gives her this, like, they call it the Dagon sphere. And she starts to think, oh, maybe it's this. So I can fight this. And it's also Buffy trying to find an enemy to fight.
Right.
Because it's almost like she cannot accept that my mom is ill and I may not be able to help her, which is a genuine human reaction.
Absolutely.
So she's looking and desperately seeking a supernatural element to this. So she does that spell, which reveals what is unrevealed or something like that. And that's when you have that amazing moment where Dawn says, "What are you doing in my room?" And she's fading in and out, in and out. And Buffy mistakenly assumes, oh, she's the reason. I knew I disliked her for something. And she believes that Dawn is what's causing the issue. She learns that Dawn is very much an innocent, that her origin is that she's this mystical key that opens portals, and these monks, in an attempt to keep her away from the beast, as they call Glorificus, forged her into a human. So she is blissfully unaware that, oh, I'm this mystical ball of energy. For all Dawn knows, I am this 14-year-old girl dealing with my annoying older sister, and I love my mom to death. And that's the shift in Buffy's attitude towards Dawn. And she keeps Dawn's origins a secret for a very long time before she even trusts the other Scoobies, where she says, okay, I'm going to share something with you, but you cannot behave strangely. They fail at not behaving strangely. And then tragically, Dawn finds out, and it's a very emotional scene where she actually cuts herself and she says, I'm not a key, I bleed. You see, like, I'm bleeding. Like, so she's dealing with that revelation, dealing with the knowledge, like, oh my God, I'm evil, you know? So, and that transitions into the body, where Joyce has had her surgery, but tragically something goes wrong.
Yeah.
She has a brain hemorrhage. And in this episode, there's a heartbreaking moment where Buffy imagines that she got there in time, that she saved her mom. And then it cuts back to, no, my mom is dead.
Yeah.
And Sarah Michelle and everyone does such a great job where she's like mindlessly walking around like, what do I do with myself? And I was reading comments from people who lost loved ones, and they said, this helped me deal with the loss of my dad. You know, where I recognize that, where you almost don't know what to do with yourself. You're just walking around, or like Xander, you're responding with anger.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's what I think that episode does so brilliantly. Is it just shows how different people deal with grief in different ways.
Yeah.
You know, they all. I mean, even. Oh, by the way, I loved Anya in all the episodes.
Yeah.
And I mean, even her reaction. You know, you're almost thinking like, oh, is she just doing are they doing this for comic relief? And then there are some people that have never experienced it. So, so you know, forget the fact that she's a demon. Like, it's like, think of somebody that just has never experienced that. They don't know how to react.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There are people like that. Yeah. You know, Willow with the changing of the clothes. I mean. Yeah,
Allison Hannigan, she's phenomenal in this episode because you feel her grief.
Yeah.
Like, even like, it's true, like, well, what do I wear? Well, what's appropriate? And you see Amber Benson, Tara, just trying to be there. And that was actually, I'm going to say this, the first on-screen kiss between two women in a Prime Network show. And what Whedon, in spite of his problems, fought to have that kiss included. Because up until this point, it was all metaphor with them. So he fought for that kiss to be aired.
Yeah.
And it's a very tender moment of Tara trying to console Willow and realizing, I can't take the grief from you. But, like, I was almost crying. I've actually cried watching this because Allison Hannigan does a terrific job where she's just like, what do I wear? Or what's appropriate? How do I deal with this? And then Xander punching the wall. Because he can't help his friend deal with her grief.
Yeah.
And so it's just so brilliantly done. And it's a very, like, some people argued this episode is so boring, but I guess it had a purpose. You know, like, basically because there was an action.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
I couldn't disagree more with those people.
Yeah, like a lot of people was like, oh, this is kind of boring, but I guess it serves a purpose. Oh, like, I guess I could understand why people like it. You know,
those people don't understand then what the entire episode is about.
Yeah, and
because it's all not only is it about grief, but it's also about like Buffy coming out of her adolescence and stepping into her adulthood, because now she has a half sister that she has to take care of because their father is mysteriously not
and even like
available.
I love, like, I'm thinking about the episode where the moment when the doctor says he's explaining. And at one point, and there's paperwork. And I love how Giles says, okay, doctor, like, I'll do it, because he realizes.
Buffy can't handle it.
And also, like, I put myself in that position where it's like, I can only imagine I have to deal with my mom's death. I have a sister I need to take, and now I have paperwork.
Yep.
And Giles, and I think that shows the beauty of their relationship, where he realizes, I need to step in. Yeah. And he has always been that father figure. And he says, I'll handle it as much as I can. And he's basically taking that burden from her, saying, as much as I can, I will deal with that.
Yeah.
And then I love at the end where she has to fight a vampire. So just basically saying how I can't even grieve.
Yeah.
Like, the world, first of all, the world is moving on. Like, how dare, like, kids playing outside, you know?
Yeah.
It's sunny out, and now this vampire, like, she can't even grieve.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I have to amend a previous statement I made. It was not nominated for an Emmy. I thought it was. It's not one of the episodes that was nominated, but it had a lot of viewers. Like, the viewership ratings were extremely high when this episode aired. And it's just one of the more brilliant episodes, I think, of the show, period, and definitely of this season. And like Lou said, I did choose it because it's about Buffy at 19 years of age. She's stepping up, and now first of all, she's always had the world on her shoulders, but now I have to take care of Dawn. And so,
now, is Dawn her half-sister or her full sister?
She's supposed to be her full sister.
Okay, I don't know why I thought it was her half-sister.
Yeah, she's supposed to be her full sister. And so that leads into episode 22, The Gift. And I realized as I was watching, because I haven't watched in a long time, did you guys have questions surrounding the death being her gift? Or was it pretty obvious what it meant by that?
I had seen it before, so
Okay,
I knew.
I was very confused.
Okay, so I'm going to quickly as I can. There's a previous episode where Buffy goes into the desert and she does a vision quest of some kind. And she meets
like ayahuasca, right?
Yeah. And I don't know what that is. But
I think it was when you trip on drugs and stuff.
Oh
my God.
And she meets with the first Slayer who we met in season 4. And she basically wants to find out, what is my purpose? What is a Slayer? Am I more than just a killing machine, essentially? And this first Slayer says, death is your gift. And Buffy misinterprets it as basically saying, then I guess, and she even says it in a previous...
Yeah, she says like she's a killer.
Yeah. But what she realizes is that her sacrifice for others is her gift.
Okay.
So in giving up her own life for her sister, for her friends, for the world, that is the ultimate gift.
Okay.
Yeah.
That
So
she could give.
She bites the bullet at the end of episode 5.
22.
Yeah.
Or the episode 22.
Yeah,
she dies at the end,
Yeah, she realizes...
Spoiler, she comes back.
And turns Willow evil.
Yeah. No, well, that's a whole other thing, but Willow does that herself.
There was one thing I did not remember. The old guy at the end.
Oh, yeah. So he's a very minor character. So in a previous episode, Spike and Xander?
Since you bring up Spike.
Yeah.
I love Spike. Spike's my boy.
Yeah.
Spike, what are you doing with your hair? Brush your hair. It's not the 80s anymore.
There was a lot going on.
Comb your hair, man. Come on.
Yeah, it's an episode, I think, where Spike and Xander, they go to try to... I can't remember it completely, but they go to visit this old man because he has powerful artifacts. And at first you think he's an ally, but later you realize he worships the beast, or Glorificus. One of the elements of this episode that, to this day, I have a very hard time is Giles' decision to kill Ben. So Ben is the human body who's hosting Glory. So essentially, when Ben was born, Glory was put into his body. So she's parasitic to him, essentially. Because Giles has this conversation in the beginning where he says, we may have to kill Dawn. And Buffy basically doesn't want to hear it. And he goes, well, tough. These are the decisions you'll have to make. And at one point, Xander suggests, why don't we just kill Ben? And then Xander goes, oh, my God, how could I even think it? But Giles actually does it. And one would argue Giles has shown in previous seasons that he's capable of basically doing what no one else wants to do, but I am still extremely disturbed by his decision to kill Ben and how easily it comes to him to do it. I mean, ultimately, that is what helps to some extent, but I don't know how you guys felt about it. Like, it was very disturbing. And I know other people have said how it seemed out of character, and that's one of the moments that truly disturbs them.
I think that it at the start of it, I would have been a little, like, at the start of Buffy, I would have been a little more disturbed by Giles's decision to just outright kill Ben, because he's a watcher. He's not really a fighter kind of a thing. But as the seasons have gone and Giles kind of like becomes, instead of just staying in the library, to becoming more of an active role, an active participant, it's, to me, it does not seem that far out of character. And I wasn't disturbed by it. I was like, oh, well, Ben is essentially in the mix of all of this. It makes sense that he would have to go in order to weaken Glory. And I see Giles being capable of doing it.
Yeah.
Especially if it's to protect the Scooby Gang, Buffy, but especially Buffy.
Yeah.
Because I feel like over the seasons, and I don't know if you guys can attest to this too, but I feel like Giles has become almost Buffy's surrogate father.
Oh, yeah.
Or he looks at her as his surrogate daughter.
Yes.
So no, it's not disturbing to me, and it's not now. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
No, without a doubt, their relationship evolves tremendously over the course of 7 seasons, and he becomes a de facto father in her life.
Right,
he is her father.
Yes. So so his action in taking action to take out Ben was not far out of the realm of possibility for me.
Yeah, like, and I know why he does it. But for me, it's just so jarring, because even when he says, Buffy's the hero, she's not like us. And he says, and even now, while you're prone, she could not kill you.
Yeah.
She says, but I'm not her. And he immediately just, like, smothers him to death, essentially. He suffocates him.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I understand why he does it, but it's still, for me, it's like, because that's Giles. Like, I know... And I think it also shows we're all capable, like, especially if someone we love is like, okay, well, it's the person I love or it's you.
Right.
You know, so we're all capable of it. But, like, for me, it just was...
Yeah, I liked it. I think that, I think that sometimes... I think that one of the things I loved about Becoming was that there were actual consequences and actual, like... ramifications to stopping the end of the world.
Yeah.
So this episode, while it might seem out of character, Giles did what he had to do to save the world. If he doesn't kill Ben, Glory's coming back.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know. So I didn't have a problem with that. I liked that. The only thing I didn't really care for in that last episode was, like, and again, it's because I don't remember the guy. I don't remember the episode that Spike and Xander met him. But, like, what gives that guy the ability to do the ritual? Like, isn't this, like, Glory's thing? Isn't she the one trying to cross the gates?
The way I understood it, and I could be wrong, this is just, so, just to quickly, the ritual is, like, bloodletting. Basically, Dawn's blood has to get flowing.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel, whether it was Glory or anyone else, she needs to start bleeding.
It's just that time of night.
That's what I'm thinking. So essentially, there was a specific time, there was a window of opportunity. Glory seizes that window of opportunity. Dawn is brought up there. I think she's about to go to do the bloodletting, but Buffy stops her, and she starts engaging, or the Buffy bot stops her, because it's not really Buffy, and then Buffy eventually comes in.
So weird.
So the Buffy bot... Never mind, it's not that important. I can tell later after we record. It's not that important. So she uses the Buffy...
I remember the Buffy bot.
Yeah. So
and Xander makes that joke.
Yeah.
Where Anya's like, I think Willow was using that, and then he's like, oh, I don't think Willow's into Buffy like that.
Yeah.
And she's like, For science.
Yeah, he goes, yeah.
He's like, oh, yes, for science.
Yeah.
Xander's such an
Pervert.
annoying character.
So I guess like that guy, like he just basically assumed like, okay, I just need to start bleeding you and woohoo, and like he basically did what he did. What I love though is how he starts charging up, he goes, she just casually tosses him off like he's nothing or whatever. I love that moment. What I also loved is for the first time, I think in this show, each of the Scoobies is working together, utilizing their individual strengths to accomplish a goal, which I think often enough they do not do. So, like, Willow is using magic, so she basically brings the crazy back to Glory. She basically takes back what Glory. What am I trying to say? So Tara's been made insane because Glory's a brain sucker. So she essentially passes on the insanity from Tara to Glory, temporarily disabling her, so she's using her magic. Xander uses his carpentry skills and he has a wrecking ball. Giles is using his knowledge, we have and Spike is using his strength, yes, I was like, working together, like that's what you're supposed to be doing. You're each utilizing your strengths and you're working towards a common goal, which they often don't do because they're idiots. So like I appreciated that. I said, yes, you're working together. So I liked that. I loved the comedy because sometimes the comedy can seem, poorly timed. But I think what Buffy does well is that it mixes the comedy with the dark so well. Like, even when the old guy tosses Spike off and then he sees Buffy, he goes, ha. And then she goes, pfft. She just casually, yeets him from the tower and he says, get out of my way, I have things to do. So it's like those little moments are when Glory says, the Slayer's a robot. Did anyone else know the Slayer's a robot? And Buffy goes, you're not the sharp. What does she say to her?
You're not I think she says, you're not the smartest god out there, are you? Or something like that.
Yeah. So it's like little things like that that I appreciated. And then Buffy's speech to Dawn before she takes the swan dive, where she basically encourages Dawn to live, and that while she may be tempted to give up, she needs to live her life and be happy. So I appreciated that. And I think also the ending goes to show that season 5 was supposed to be the ending of the show.
Yeah.
But like all good things, they could have just let it,
They could have just let it be.
No, it had to go to UPN.
Yeah.
And have 2 more seasons.
Yeah. But you can see that season 5 was definitely a conclusion. You felt it.
I have a question.
Yes.
And I don't know if you guys can answer this question. But in the spin-off series Angel, does Angel find out about Buffy's death?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's an episode where it ends where Willow's there and Angel sees her face and he realizes something is terribly wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he does find out. I've never watched Angel, but I've seen the clip, and Willow goes there, and he realizes something is horribly wrong. Yeah.
Thanks for nothing, Angel.
Yeah, really.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Thanks for nothing.
Yeah, so...
You flat lever.
Yeah. So, was there anything else? Anything that you wanted, clarification, or anything that stuck out, or...
I guess that they think the introduction of Dawn could have been a little clearer, I guess. But I think that's just because we didn't watch the first episode of season 5.
And also, it was meant to be, because I also know this because the writers were I watched the DVD extras, so that's how I know this. Is
Nerd.
that the writers intentionally were making it ambiguous, where basically they wanted you to think, oh, I've missed something. Legitimately, when I first watched it, and when it was airing, I wasn't really watching Buffy. I was like, she has a sister? Since when? This is stupid. And I turned it off and I stopped watching it. There were a lot of people on the forums did we miss something? Where is this sister coming from? And they intentionally kept it. We're not going to answer that question for 4 episodes, 5, I guess.
That's really stupid. Writers, that was really stupid.
But
Don't do that.
But that was the whole point, was that you were meant to say, okay, there's when you're watching her, you're you've always been here? Because, she'll talk about Angel. Oh, when Buffy was with Angel, she didn't cry because that's also, Riley, this is the season where he leaves Buffy.
Yeah.
No, wait, that's not the season where it is the season where he left her. Because he finally decides, you're not giving me what I need, and there's no communication happening. Lou was probably very happy because
Yeah.
Lou doesn't like him.
He's the worst.
But this is like where Dawn will say, oh, she doesn't cry as much over you like she did with Angel. I mean, and she doesn't realize that it's like another stab in his heart. So basically how she'll reference Angel, but we know as viewers, but she was not there.
Yeah.
But she's supposed to have always been there.
Yeah, I
Yeah. Funny.
don't think, I mean, I understand wanting to make it ambiguous, but I for somebody who's not an avid watcher, who has never really has never seen Buffy, it's not helpful.
Yeah.
It's really not helpful. And they could have done it a lot clearer. Whether or not you want it to be ambiguous or not, it's I didn't like it. I didn't like it.
I like it. I think it's clever. It was something different. I remember it airing, and I remember it happening at the time, and I know that there were people that didn't like it, but there were also people that were just kind of like intrigued and like, what's going on? Like, I mean, I remember my sister being like really excited for season 5 when season 5 came out, because you had to. I mean, I think we all. I mean, I think within my family we assumed like there was something supernatural about it. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't.
And I think also it also goes to, at the time that it was airing, what am I trying to say? Like, there were the forums, so it's not like today where it's like you can immediately share. Like, the fan engagement is very different.
The internet was
Yeah.
at its infancy.
Yeah.
We
Yes.
didn't like go online to see
No.
what other people were saying. Like,
Yeah.
but we just kind of assumed like
Yeah.
within our circle that
Yeah,
like,
I mean, there were
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
forums and fans were talking, like the writers were, but I think that may have helped too, where there was that air of mystery, was like, oh my God, like what's going on? Like,
Right.
so I think
Again-
maybe time and place.
Yeah. Again,
Yeah.
I think it's because I wasn't an avid watcher of
Yeah.
Buffy. It wasn't on my radar. I was never really interested
Yeah.
in watching it, and I'm sorry, Simona. I'm still kind of not.
Well, it doesn't
Right.
negate my enjoyment. Yeah, it's
Well,
fine.
good, I'm glad.
Everyone, yeah,
I'm
it's,
glad.
It's everyone.
Um,
It's yeah, like
it's-
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know. I
Yeah.
feel like it could have been done better, but
And I also
I think that's just my own personal opinion at that point.
I think going into this like rewatch of it, I think I kind of even appreciated the tactic more. I don't know. I mean, this is not to the level, but like not nearly to the level. But in season 3 of Lost, in the finale, when you find out that like all the like you've had 3 seasons of flashbacks, and then in the finale you find out that there are flash forwards and they've gotten off the island, like that blew my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like I kind of like thought of it in almost the same vein as that, like they're switching it up. They're engaging you in a different way, and I appreciated it. I mean,
And that what you just said reminds me of something I read about, because I think now certain things were like, they had that wow, where I think now, like, what would wow you at that time has almost become commonplace. Like, I remember reading something where it's like you mentioned with Lost, how season 3, like, when they, like, it blew your mind. And I think now certain things are so commonplace where it does not have
yeah.
that impact anymore. And I remember reading something where like shows that did this at the time would have been, but now it's so, I know I'm not articulating this well, but it's so commonplace where it's oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like where you almost don't
No,
like,
you're explaining yourself
yeah,
very well.
Yeah, like basically where it's like, I don't see the big deal. So I definitely think where like if you were not like, I can understand, because watching older shows like, oh, okay, and then people talking about it, like I don't see it. But then I realized, okay, different time, different place, different audience, like
Yeah.
what the
Yeah.
expectations were.
Yeah.
Like there's a show that I love. It's corny, yes, but I love it anyway. It's Beauty and the Beast with Linda Hamilton and Ron Perlman. and it came out in the 80s. I don't care about the judgment face. I love that show. But they did not reveal Ron Perlman's face. Like, when they were doing promotions for the show, they didn't reveal his face until I think they aired the first episode, I think. And I could be wrong if but they basically kept it a mystery. So when they were shot together for magazines, he had his hood on, or he was turned this way, and they kept it going. And it was building the suspense for, well, what does this guy look like? You know, what does this beast look like? And then
I feel like Ron Perlman didn't even need any makeup to be Beast.
No.
Right?
It's funny that I find him. Okay, never mind. I'm not gonna.
You
say
find
it.
Ron Perlman attractive?
As what the hell is his name? As Vincent, yes.
Oh yeah, we gotta look this up.
Well, now you're gonna look at me like I'm weird, but like even his.
I always look at you like you're weird,
I know.
so don't worry about it.
But even like the way Vincent speaks, like he's so highly educated. It's like he's from a different era and just thrown into at the time modern day. I don't know. There is something about him.
Joe, you gotta check this out. Beauty and the Beast, American drama series, Ron Perlman. And throw that picture up there for everybody to see. That is.
I feel like Joe has done that in a previous episode.
Probably.
Because I've mentioned the show.
I
as
think
being,
we have. Now that I'm seeing it, I think I have seen this before.
Yeah.
It was because of you, probably.
Yeah, but
Because of you.
But
The guy who plays Vincent in the reboot of Beauty and the Beast is much hotter than Ron.
There's a reboot of the
there is.
show.
yeah.
So it's another show.
Called
But-
Beauty and the Beast.
But in my opinion, not as good. But anyway, that's just
Beauty
my
and the Beast
Reboot.
reboot TV show.
But anyway, so my whole point, like, the segue was basically marketing.
Yeah.
Like, at the time, like, now it's like, because we're oversaturated where things are leaked and you have that, it doesn't.
Nothing's a surprise anymore.
Yeah, like, I can imagine.
where you can spoil plot twists on
All right.
YouTube.
All right, but this guy doesn't even look like a beast.
So he
Because
beasts.
he beasts out. He's genetically modified to be like a super soldier.
Yeah.
So he turns
It's a
into-
way for him. It's like a cop out. It's a way for him to be ugly cute without you having to really
Cop-out?
worry about. It's like I have conflicting notion about the fact that she's in love with a beast man and that they actually have sex on the show. Although I will say the manner in which they have sex, it's kind of like she took advantage while he was in a heightened emotional state. She just goes into a cave with him and then ends up pregnant the next season.
Nice.
But I just so I was conflicted about that desire to see them smoosh, and I was like, because and even my mom was like, "That's disgusting." I said, "But he's not like an animal. He's like human." So that was a way for people to feel less bad about the fact that she's getting together with because
Yeah.
Ron Perlman is like a lion-esque beast man. So, but yeah.
I almost respect that more though. Like that they did that. Like this one just looks like he's just a normal guy.
But even the marketing, whenever they kissed, it was their shadows that kissed because like I said, they had feelings. So anyway, so my whole point was marketing. How like I'm sure if I were in the 80s and like flipping over, I was like, oh my god, I can't wait to see it. Whereas now it wouldn't have the same impact. Or,
No,
like,
because
now
there's
you
too
don't
many
do
ways.
that.
There's too many ways to spoil things.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, and also, I mean, you guys might have said this already because I wasn't really listening. I was looking at Beauty and the Beast. But
Thanks, Lou.
you know, I think the nature of streaming also has something to do with it. You
Yeah.
know,
Yes.
like you know, the fact that stuff is not released weekly anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Like back when Buffy was on and when Lost was on, like it was an event. You
Yeah.
know, you looked forward to that. You sat
had
down to watch
one
it.
episode a week,
Yeah.
and you had to.
Yeah.
If it ended on a cliffhanger, you had to wait a full week
Yeah.
just to see
Yeah.
the next episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's even with other shows, like, for example, I mentioned the on-screen kiss between Willow and Tara. Now, there were other kisses, but the purpose behind the kiss was very different. A lot of times it was for titillation, especially if it involved two women. That's what it was for. It wasn't organic. With their relationship up until this point, everything had been metaphors. The network was not willing to go there. But with this episode, and Amber Benson has spoken about it, Allison Hannigan has spoken about it, where they said, well, Buffy in season 4 she's been kissing people. She's been having sex and you've been showing it. Why is this any different? Why can't you show this kiss?
Yeah,
Right.
It's not any different.
And Josh Whedon said, I will not air this episode if you do not let that kiss happen. And they let it happen. And while it's far from perfect in terms of representation, I'm not saying this is woo, it was pivotal.
But for a show airing in like the mid to late 90s
and early
2000s,
it was like, now no one would bat an eyelash
Right.
because you have same sex couples in TV and they're living their lives or whatever.
Right.
I'm not saying it's perfect, but it wouldn't, like, if I show this to someone now, they'd be like, oh, okay.
yeah,
Like, the impact wouldn't be there.
It wouldn't be a big deal
For them. And also, up until this point, it was, like, the character, well, she does get, spoiler, killed off. But, like, even with gay characters, it was almost like if they were there, they were dying of a disease, or they
Right.
were, like, it was very different. Like,
Yeah.
you know, whereas this, it was a healthy, committed relationship. No one was dying up until this point. And, like, they were accepted by their peer groups or whatever. So, yeah. I definitely agree with things. It's time and place. You have to have been in that moment to understand the impact. But yeah. So, yeah, before I sign off, I don't want to like anything. Oh,
No.
Just, especially after the lackluster,
Season
which
4.
was season 4, yeah. This was, these episodes were enjoyable. And like I said, the body was just such a,
I think out of the, not to cut you off, Lou.
but you did, it's okay.
I'm sorry. I think that out of the 3 episodes, the body was more entertaining for me because of how it, like, the supernatural part kind of like took a backseat.
Yeah. I mean, I tend to lean towards things that are more grounded in reality anyway.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not huge into supernatural stuff. I know I just gloated about Lost, but
Yeah.
but I can understand that there's a difference. But I'll talk about this so we're not. So yeah, but I get why you would resonate with that, even though you're not big on supernatural. I think there's a difference. But yeah, like I've had fun. This was such a great discussion. Like I said, as you know, I love Buffy. I talk about it constantly. That's nothing new. And it's been so fun to be able to discuss these seasons and these episodes. So I would love to hear from you if you're a fan. And with these 3 episodes, which one's your favorite? Or did you think, you could have picked 3 other episodes that really, I guess, deal with the soul of what this whole season is about. So let us know. As always, like, subscribe, and we will see you next time. Bye, everyone.